So thanks everyone for joining. Today we want to talk about kidney stones, which is a problem that plagues thousands of people across the world. And we get absolutely worried when we have this for all the right reasons, because anything that involves our vital organs is of critical importance and we need to take care of it. While some people get it and, reasons are, people speculate about the reasons, a lot of it can be prevented. So we're going to talk today about, how we can prevent the formation of kidney stones. And even if you do have kidney stones, or if you have a history or a family history of kidney stones, what are some of the lifestyle changes, the nutritional changes that we can make so that we can look after our kidney? Because your kidney is one of the most important organs. All your organs are important. But if we lose the functioning of our kidney or we put too much of stress on it, then we have bigger problems later on in life. So the whole idea is, how do we age gracefully, maintaining our organs, maintaining our organ health? For that, I have Hardika. She's the head of dietetics with us, and she's been handling our medical and kidney vertical for patients across the world. So we thought we'd borrow and steal some of Hardika's time today so she can help us understand all about kidney stones and what we can do. So basically, in general, when people get kidney stones, a lot of people start doing things like drinking more beer or drinking more carbonated drinks, because there are so many myths about what flushes out kidney stones. But when you really understand the basics of what forms the stones, whether they are calcium residues, they're oxalates, or they're crystals, or even a buildup of uric acid, then we get to understand that there is a simple structure or a method that we can put to it. At the same time, please understand that you should, depending on the pain that you get, which usually signifies, and we're going to talk about symptoms of kidney stones, you must always see your doctor, because sometimes if those kidney stones get stuck, they can create more and more infection, inflammation, and it can become very dangerous for you. So the whole idea, while there are natural remedies and nature, you must never ignore the fact that it could be a medical emergency, and you need to give it that importance. Thanks, Hardika, for joining. Let's start straight with kidney stones. Why do people get them? How do they form? What are they made up of? Let's understand that, Hardika.
Right. So before I move on to the types of kidney stones and add on a little more or give basically more insights in terms of what that particular kidney stone comprises of, let me start with, the characteristics. So basically you would notice that most of the people who are in the age group of 30 to 50 would see higher chances of getting kidney stones. That is one. Mostly it's been seen in case of males as compared to females. So males are 3 times more prone to get kidney stones as compared to females. So that's a very interesting research that has been found. So coming largely to the types of kidney stones, there are 4 types of kidney stones that we generally see. Calcium stones. Calcium stones comprises of around 80% of the total kidney stones. Then we have uric acid stones, which comprises around 5 to 10%. Then we have steroid stones, and then which is generally because of the infection. Uric acid stones, as the name suggests, it is because of excess excretion of uric acid. When I say calcium stones is basically because of more of calcium, which is urine. At the same time, calcium could be calcium oxalate as well as calcium phosphate stones, right? So largely you would still see around, out of that 80% of calcium stones, most of the times it's calcium oxalate stones which has been observed. And last but not the least is the cystine stones. So cystine stones, it's very rare, around 1%, but then it's because of excess excretion of methionine. So we would, the cystine basically, which is received from methionine-rich foods. So we would want to avoid those. So let me take to, so basically these are the 4 types of stones which you would generally observe.
Hardika, let me ask you a quick question. You mentioned methionine-rich foods. Can you give us some examples of those particular foods?
Sure. So methionine-rich foods would consist of, say, eggs, meat, non-vegetarian items basically, and milk. So we would want to be a little extra careful with regards to foods which are rich in so animal food in general as such as well, because not only with regards to methionine, but also if we talk about non-vegetarian food, specifically with regards to red meat and all, it is also rich in terms of say the purines and all, because of which what happens, it is also making your system a little more acidic, and in an acidic medium you have higher chances of developing kidney stones. So it's very important that you maintain equilibrium or maintain the pH of your body and your urine as well, because in an acidic medium, you would also notice there's excess excretion of calcium, which is also taking place. So these are few things which would, contribute towards formation of kidney stones. So we would want to be a little more careful about these things.
Hardika, what's your take? A lot of people pop calcium supplements,
Right.
They take it every single day. And I know it's been advised in the nutritional world as well as the medical world to take your daily calcium. We understand during pregnancy,
Right.
there's an increase. After the age of 50, menopause, there's also an increase. But
Correct.
there's also a lot of research showing that too much of calcium also leads to the formation of kidney stones. How do we handle this? Yeah.
That's a very great point, Luke, and I'm glad you brought it up. See, calcium-rich foods, calcium is actually very important for your bones as such, definitely, but we would want to get our calcium through food. So sesame seeds, milk and milk products, ragi, green leafy veggies, certain you can easily, even if you take around 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds on a daily basis, you would meet your daily calcium requirement. Definitely when we are talking about, say, pregnancy or lactation, wherein the requirements are really high, for that limited period of time, you may want to go ahead and go ahead and take supplements as suggested by your doctor. But apart from that, just popping in calcium pills on a daily basis is not a great idea. Because with research as well, it's been shown that excess calcium supplementation, specifically, I'm talking about supplementation, because definitely if you look at the dosage, it's generally in the dosage of 500 or 1000 milligrams, the calcium supplements are available. And anyways, you would be taking your daily daily food, so you would meet your daily requirements via food as well. So it's too much in excess, and because of which it's been seen that the people who are popping in around 1000 to 1200 milligrams of calcium supplements on a regular basis has also shown an increase in terms of kidney stone formation. So that is something which we would really want to be careful about.
Great. I would like to add a point also. We need to understand a lot of people are deficient in calcium. It doesn't mean they pop supplements. They're also deficient because they're highly acidic. So when you're highly acidic, your blood, to maintain the pH level to alkaline, or the pH level it's supposed to maintain, it starts leaching calcium from your bones. And then what happens is your blood parameters show you a deficiency in calcium, and then you're given a supplement. But you don't really have a deficiency of calcium. It's because you're highly acidic, you're leaching calcium. So you end up with excess supplemental calcium, which can cause problems. So it is so important to maintain your digestive health and make sure that you're not entirely acidic. So Hardika, you handle kidney patients across our country and the world.
Right.
What are some of the things you do to look after kidney health, help people? Let's start off with people who have kidney stones. What are some of the things that have worked effectively for them?
Okay, so considering people who have kidney stones, it's not only with regards to nutrition or medicines that it is going to help you flush off those kidney stones or reduce the size of the kidney stones. It's the holistic approach, again, the 360-degree approach, which is very important, right from correct nutrition to sleep to stress to everything into consideration. So the reason I'm saying all this is the first and foremost, which I think all of us must be knowing, is have enough amount of water, right? So around 2.5 to 3 liters of water is something which each and everyone, once you know that you have kidney stones, that's the first thing which each and everyone would do. So why water is so important? It's very important because we would want to ensure that we do not want to concentrate the solutes. The solutes, when I'm mentioning solutes, it's the calcium, the uric acid, the steroid stones, and all these stones that have been formed. We do not want it to be concentrated. And in order to flush it off, we require a good amount of water. So hence, it's been also seen that a person who has maintained around 2.5 liters of urine output has very less chances of developing a kidney stone. So we would want to maintain our water levels at that level. And specifically for a person who sweats a lot or stays in a very hot region as such, in such cases as well, your overall requirement of water increases. So that's the first and foremost point. Second, I would like to add on would be in order to remove the calcium. I'm talking about calcium stone again here because it consists of around 80% of the total stones. So in order to bind the calcium and not let the calcium stones increase in size, the amount of citric acid which we easily get via lemon, lime, citrus fruits for that matter, is really, really helpful as well. So it will not only not let the stone, which is already there, calcium oxalate stone, to increase in size, but at the same time, if there's excess amount of calcium which is present in the body, the citrate would try and bind it, and it will not let it allow to form a stone, basically. So that's a very beautiful thing. And generally, we also want to have good amount of, as we were talking about alkaline pH, lemons, lime being one of the most alkaline fruit, it also helps us in maintaining the body pH. So that's, again, one of the excellent things that you would want to look at. One thing which you also mentioned in terms of aerated drinks, right? Many people say you should have aerated drinks because it will help in flushing off the stones. That's a myth. And in fact, if you are having aerated drink, you are increasing your chances of developing kidney stones to a very large extent. Reasons. So one, it contains phosphoric acid. It basically makes your system all the more acidic. If your system is acidic, in order to balance your body pH, the urine will also become acidic, right? So that's first and foremost. The HFCS, the high fructose corn syrup, which is generally present in the aerated drinks, it is responsible in excess excretion of uric acid and excess excretion of calcium. Thereby, if there's more of excretion that has been happening via urine, there are higher chances of development of stones. So again, that is something which we would want to be away from. So these are few things. One more very interesting thing that was being found in terms of researches and all was the amount of sodium that you take, right? People who used to eat out on regular basis, because we definitely know outside food, it comprises a good amount of salt to make it a little more tastier, and it's generally more as compared to how much you would use at home. So people who were having good amount of sodium levels were also shown to have a higher excretion of calcium as well as cysteine. So again, in terms of both of these things, the stone formation of cysteine as well as calcium increases quite a bit in such cases. So that is also which we would want to be a little careful about. So it is not only restricted to outside food for that matter. People who opt in for packaged foods, ready-to-eat foods, if not in the form of salt, but in the form of preservatives, sodium benzoate, right? So if you would notice the preservatives as well, the class of preservatives, most of the preservatives have sodium in it. So overall, if we look at it, the amount of sodium that a person consumes is really, really high. So that is something which we would again want to take care of. So these are very small things which is which I'm putting across, but at the same time, consumption of ACV again, because of the acetic acid, it is really helping in terms of flushing off the excess stones, or uric acid also for that matter. I have already done one video on uric acid, and people who have uric acid stones can definitely go ahead and look at that video, because it contains quite a few tips which will help in terms of flushing of uric acid specifically. When I was talking about the stroite stones, so stroite stones is generally seen in people who have UTIs very frequently. So stroite stone is the only stone out of the different types of stones that I mentioned, which has, wherein the females are more prone to have stroite stones as compared to males because of the amount of urine infections. So that's again, it's because of Pseudomonas and Klebsiella bacteria basically, which would break down your urea into ammonia and carbon dioxide, which causes a lot of issue. So again, in such cases as well, maintaining your body pH into alkaline is something which is really, really helpful. So all the pointers that I just mentioned as well will really help in such cases. What I was trying to put across is, when we were talking about lemon, lime, citrus fruits and all, we also know that it is a good source of vitamin C. But vitamin C as such in terms of food is a good idea, but many of them have been having vitamin C supplementations on a regular basis. So that's something which is really, really harmful, because excess vitamin C is being all converted into oxalate, and thereby excretion of oxalate increases when a person has good amount of vitamin C supplementation. So that's something which we would really want to take care of. So these are few things which I would want to put across. And I already mentioned about the lean protein, basically the meat protein, which we need to avoid. It's not only high in terms of sodium, but also makes your system a lot more acidic. So this is with regards to the food part of it. Now, specifically with regards to sleep. Sleep, again, is one of the very, very important lifestyle factor, as you always insist upon, right? So sleep, again, that is the period of time wherein all the detoxification, wear and tear, your overall balance, everything happens when you're sleeping sound. So sound sleep is something which is really, really important. In fact, there were studies which were done in which there was a group of females, women specifically, who were sleeping for around 5 hours or less. Okay, so in such cases, the chances of kidney issues or the dip in terms of kidney functioning was seen by 65%. So it's a huge percent that we see because of lack or basically deprivation of sleep. But I am sure it's not only restricted to kidney functioning, but to a lot more organs as well. So that's definitely there. And last but not the least, ensure that a person does exercise or be or is active on a regular basis for sure, because activity, it's been seen with light activity in terms of light walk or yoga, has shown to throw off the stones which are being formed in smaller amounts, definitely. And also a caution, in case you are feeling any pain or if there's any kind of discomfort, you may want to stop at that point of time and do not prolong your exercise, basically. So that's about it, Luke.
Hardika, can you talk about oxalates, please? Because a lot of stones are also formed with oxalates. So
Right.
what are those foods that people should cut down on or avoid if they have these stones that contain oxalates?
Right. So oxalates, it's not oxalates as it is. It's generally in the combination of calcium oxalates. So definitely in such cases, what people generally do is they cut down on calcium foods as well. So that's a very bad thing that one would do. In fact, you require good amount of calcium in order to ensure that calcium oxalate stones are not being formed. And with regards to oxalates, I would say beetroot, tea, chocolates. These are few examples which you would want to restrict in terms of if you would notice that the oxalate excretion in your urine is a little on a higher end. So this would work only if the oxalate stones or there's excess excretion of oxalate which is being seen. Otherwise, if you try and have spinach, you try and have chocolates, you try and have beetroot in a very limited quantities on a regular basis, it's completely all right.
And there's this whole thing about whether you should have beetroot, carrot, spinach, raw or cooked. Which one is it where the oxalates are more? Because a lot of people are confused. You know, they say don't have raw beetroot, cook it or boil it so that the oxalates break down. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. So basically, it's the overall quantity of the amount of oxalate-rich foods that you're consuming, which is important, rather than in what form are you having it, in cooked or raw, specifically. But definitely what we would want to look at is still go ahead and have the cooked form, because in terms of kidney stones and all, unless you are very sure of what kind of stone it is, we do not want to risk in terms of having excess of raw foods as well, because of the risk of infections. So we would always want it to be steamed or little sauteed or stir fried. It's always better to have it in that form.
Okay. Hardika, also, what about unhygienic water? Because a lot of people get kidney stones with the quality of water. You know, we've seen a lot of young children in the age group of 1, 2, 3 living in villages and areas close to factories where the water is unhygienic.
Correct.
And does that also cause kidney stones, or does that decrease kidney function and make it unable to pass out any of the calcium oxalates or anything like that? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question once again, Luke. Thank you so much for putting it across. So basically, in such cases, what generally happens is if you're talking about water which has a lot of metals in it, metal toxicity, which may affect your organs in terms of kidney, liver, it may overall decrease the functioning of kidneys in such cases. But if I'm talking about impure water as such, which they are consuming consuming, which might be having certain bacteria in it, then the chances of, the bacterial functioning of white stones and UTIs and all of those increases in children, right? So it could be both ways. So it depends. So the best way out here would be, always use boiled and cold water, filter your water really well before you're consuming it. That's the cheapest way in terms of you would want to ensure that the water you're consuming is a little safer to drink. At the same time, always put it in a clay pot, which is easily available in all villages, or anyone for that matter affords it, right? That will help in making the water a lot more alkaline, nearby a little more alkaline in terms of the pH, which helps us in terms of not letting our system get more acidic.
Great. Last question for you, Hardika. What are the symptoms of kidney stones? Because a lot of people get confused. Some people get back pain, which they ignore for a while. So
Right.
Can you talk about some of the symptoms of kidney stones, please?
So it could be it could be either back pain, it could be side pain. Many of them, they have issues in terms of when they are going in for urination, they have this burning sensation or excessive pain while voiding, basically. Many of them would also see some spots of blood while urinating. So these are a few of the symptoms. You would want to be a little careful in terms of all these things. Many of them, they also get, abdominal discomfort or acute abdominal pain at any given point of time. So all these cases, you would want to be a little extra careful in terms of what is the root cause for it and why are you getting these kind of symptoms. If you have higher chances of, or you have a history of getting UTIs too frequently, then again, you would also want to be a little extra vigilant in terms of, this could be one of the reasons.
Right. Okay, great. So thank you so much, Hardika, for your time. So, we spoke about kidney stones. Can you give us 2 or 3 lifestyle tips on how to look after the kidneys? Because I've also noticed in my experience that, if you have a weak kidney, the kidney is like a filter. Its job is to flush out stones, excess uric acid. But when it doesn't do that, that means the kidney isn't functioning the right way. So can you give us
That's
2
right.
or 3 tips on how to maintain a healthy kidney?
Sure. So first and foremost, I would really like to mention about the hydration levels, right? So that is something which has been observed is really poor, and at any given point of time, in order to ensure that your body is flushing off all the excess toxins or unwanted material waste products, it requires water as a base. So if you're not giving enough of water to your kidneys, you would start noticing, increase in terms of creatinine and other values, which in short is adding much more pressure on the kidneys. Secondly, diabetes, hypertension, and obesity or excess weight that a person carries is also adding on a lot of effect on the kidney. So you would want to be a little careful in terms of managing your blood parameters out here, because the chances in terms of the diabetic nephropathy or because of hypertension, the amount of pressure that you put on kidneys in terms of to manage the pressure and all is tremendous. So that's again the second point. And thirdly, out of so many years of practice, one thing which I have observed in terms of all the people who are suffering from kidney diseases, they have some kind of fear of maybe rejection. They have lower self-esteem. They have low confidence in itself. So that is something which we would really want to work upon, because definitely each and everyone has their own demons and we have to fight it all and come up with it. The ones who generally hold on to these things, we have seen a very fast depletion in terms of the kidney functioning in such cases.
Right. Perfect. So there's always the emotional as well as the physical part.
Definitely.
I know people have asked questions, but we will not be answering any questions now. Our team may take over that later. So I think you have a fair amount of tips when it comes to your kidney. You need to understand that your body is designed to take care of kidney stones. It is designed to look at, tumors happening in the body, cysts and fibroids, but it has to have the ability to identify and fight all of these things. So as long as you invest in prevention and you have a strong functioning kidney, there'll be many of us who are passing out stones, on a yearly basis without even knowing about it, because our bodies are built that way. But the problem is when your body starts collecting all of this stuff because of its inefficiency to, function, or you have lack of hydration. Water is a medium that flushes out toxins as well as stones. So if we're not looking after ourselves, then that's the time where we get most of that. And of course, like we said, we've noticed that a lot of children and adults in areas where the water is not hygienic, or they don't take efforts to boil the water, or they don't have access to clean drinking water, it has a direct negative impact on the kidney. Thank you, Hardika, so much for your valuable time. Thank you, Tina. Have a
Most
great
welcome.
evening, everyone.